Hello, welcome to the main event, Zach Gowen. How you doing today?
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on the program. First of all, to start off, I was wondering, maybe you could tell us what you've been up to lately in the wrestling world and maybe in the real world as well.
Well, wrestling is picking up very well for me, actually. I landed a full-time gig in All Japan, and I'm very happy being over there in Japan. The money's good, the work is good, and I think you'll be seeing some really good things from me.
How's it like working in Japan? What are the differences between working in America and then going off to Japan? I know, like, during matches they're usually quiet and then they clap at the end, while in the States it's more that they're loud throughout the entire match. Maybe you could tell me what the difference is between the States and Japan.
Right. Well, there's not really that much difference. You know what I mean? It's still wrestling when it comes down to it, and you know, you have to go out there and perform and entertain people. As far as the physicality goes, it's a little more physical over there. There's you know, the ring's a little harder. As far as the style goes, they hit a little harder over there. You know what I mean? And the matches themselves are set up a little differently than they are over here. But when it comes down to it, it's just pro wrestling, and you go out there and you do your thing, and you just do what you know how to do.
The first time I believe I saw you was in TNA, where you had a match against B.G. James. I think it was back in 2003. You wrestled as Tenacious Z. How did that opportunity come about?
Well, actually, I was only wrestling for maybe 7 months at that point. I sent in a tape to Bill Behrens, who was booking the TNA Dark matches at the time. He saw my tape. He had me come down the following Wednesday after he saw. I wrestled the guy who trained me, named Truth Martini. We wrestled in a dark match, and they said that our match produced the loudest reaction that's ever been at the Nashville fairground. Great.
Yeah, not too.
They had no idea who I was. They had no idea who Truth was. But we went out there. We tore it up a little bit, I think. The next week they brought me back, and I started with B.G. James.
Yeah, you had a couple of matches there, and then not too long after that, you actually debuted in World Wrestling Entertainment and worked with the likes of Hulk Hogan, Roddy Piper, and The Big Show right from the get-go. How was that experience like?
Well, it was overwhelming. You know, it was exciting. It was crazy. You know, here I am, like a 19-year-old kid, you know, back in groceries at the local grocery store. 2 weeks later, you know, being on TV with Hulk Hogan. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, it was exciting. It was fun. It was overwhelming, and you know, I'm so grateful I had the opportunity to do that because of my exposure in WWE and TNA, I'm able to make a living being a pro wrestler, and that's it. So I'm very happy where I was and where I'm at right now.
What about Vince McMahon? What was he like to work for?
Vince was always cool, man. He was always, you know, a gentleman and very professional, and you know, he demanded nothing but the best, and that's what he deserves. You know what I mean? Like, he runs WWE. It's a $1 billion company, and you know, of course, he's a little demanding, but that's what he needs to do to run his company.
What about that story with how you met Hulk, or your dream when you were younger to meet Hulk Hogan? How did that story come about?
Well, actually, I made the whole thing up. That was it stems back to TNA. Before I worked with B.G. James, Mike Tenay actually came up to me and asked me if he wanted for him to say anything in our match about me. And it's on the spot, like, it popped in my head, like, this would be a cool story to tell, you know what I mean, over the air or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was actually all my doing. I came up with that story. It never happened. I never met Hulk Hogan when I had cancer. But I thought it was a pretty cool story that I came up with on the spot. But yeah, it was, I made the whole thing up.
It was a good story, though, and it definitely worked. How was Hogan like working with him?
He was great. He was great. I mean, he didn't have to, like, go out of his way and help me out and, you know, give me advice and whatnot, but he did. You know what I mean? He's been everywhere. He's seen everything. He's made so much money. It's not even funny. But yeah, he was super nice to me, and he was a true gentleman.
Do you have any funny road stories from your time in WWE by any chance? or interesting road stories?
Yeah, not really. I just, I think when guys first get there, they give them free rental cars.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave me a free rental car. So I drove like pretty much everybody around because nobody really wants to pay money to people want to save their money when on the road. But yeah, I drove everybody around pretty much. You know, I traveled a lot with Spanky and Rhino and Paul London. I drove Benoit around a lot. Eddie Guerrero, drove him around a little bit. So it was just cool, just getting to know the guys and being a part of the family.
You mentioned Benoit. How was your experience with him?
He was awesome. He was real quiet. He trained real hard at the gym, and he did his job. When I was there, he wasn't real happy about. I think he wasn't real happy about his push or where he was at. Standing with the company or whatever. So he's a little down about that. But as far as what happened with his wife and with his kid, it completely shocks me, and it's appalling and disgusting, and but as far as when I was there with him, he was nothing but classy, and he was a gentleman, and he was professional.
Yeah, and at one point you were really beaten up badly by Brock Lesnar, where he kayfabe, of course, injured your leg, and he threw you down some stairs as well. Where was this supposed to lead to?
I'm not really sure. I think it was just an angle over the summer to get Brock over his heel. He was a babyface for a while. They turned him into a bad guy, and for a few weeks he was beating up Spanky and Paul, but he wasn't really getting over as a heel. So when we came to Detroit, my hometown, I think they kind of like a last-minute thing, put me and Brock together just to have him beat me up and have him get him over as a heel.
Mm-hmm. Well, how are the ladies like? How are they?
They're awesome, man. Like they're all really cool, and they're smoking hot, and you know what I mean. Like
yeah.
But yeah, they're everybody's professional, everybody's cool, and it was cool getting to know them too.
I seem to remember one point where you had a little thing going on with Sable on an episode of SmackDown. What about that? How'd that come about?
That was cool. They had me, make out with her, and I touched her boob, and but then she swerved me, and it led to Vince and Sable like humiliating me or whatever. But it was cool. You know what I mean? Like when I was 12 years old, watching her on WWF television. You know what I mean? Like she was always like, a girl that I had a crush on growing up, or whatever, and it was cool like to do an angle with her. It was cool, man. She was nice. Yeah,
you're one lucky man, that's for sure. Vince McMahon, you got to work with him in the ring. Actually, how was he like as an actual worker?
He's nothing to write home about. He certainly knows the business. Yeah, he knows what to do. But as far as I liked the match personally. I thought it was good. I thought the finish was a little screwy. But yeah, I think the match went well. They flew me out to Stamford. They flew me out to headquarters like a week before, and we went over the match like every day. So there really wasn't room for mistakes or whatever. But he was there, and he kept me safe, and I kept him safe, and I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, and Bound for Glory 2006, you made a one-time appearance, returned to TNA for Bound for Glory. Would you consider going back to TNA, and how come it was only a one-time thing that time?
Well, that was in Detroit, and I happened to be in Detroit, and I think they used me to just pop the crowd a little bit. I like working for TNA. I've done multiple shots with them over the past couple of years. It just it's never really come about. Like a year ago, they gave me the there's too many guys here. Once we get 2 hours on TV, then we'll use you more. But 2 hours came, and it hasn't happened yet. But I'm coming with their office. I keep in contact with them, and everything's cool with that.